Have you ever lost everything? Everything. Imagine waking up under a highway overpass, cold, hungry, and with no one in the world who cares about you. Now imagine that same person, 5 years later, sitting in an oceanfront office with $2 million in the bank. Impossible. That's exactly what everyone told Michael. But today, as you watch this video, he's proving them wrong. And the most shocking part of this story isn't the money. It's what happened on a Tuesday afternoon that changed absolutely everything. But before I tell you this incredible story, I need to warn you about something. This isn't just another one of those empty motivational stories you find out there. This is real. I spent 3 days with Michael. I met the people who witnessed his transformation. I saw the proof, the documents, the before and after photos. And what you're about to hear in the next few minutes will move you in a way you might not be prepared for. Because when you realize that the same thing that saved Michael can save you too, everything will make sense. Michael was 32 years old when he lost everything. And when I say everything, I'm not exaggerating one bit. Let me explain exactly how this fall happened, because understanding this is important for you to realize how quickly life can crumble when we least expect it. It was a Monday morning, 7:30. Michael had only been at the office for 15 minutes when his boss asked to talk to him in the conference room, that room with glass walls that everyone could see from outside. He walked in thinking it would be another scolding about some late report. 5 minutes later, he walked out without a job. The company was making cuts. He was one of 30 employees laid off that day. No warning, no time to prepare. It was just over. Michael went home mid-morning stunned, trying to process what had happened. He had bills to pay, he had a car loan, he had rent due in 10 days, but he tried to calm himself down. I'll find another job quickly, he thought. I have experience, I have a resume. Everything will work out. But when he got home that Monday, he found his wife sitting in the living room with 2 suitcases beside her. She didn't look at him. She just said, in a cold, distant voice, "I can't take it anymore, Michael. You spent the last 2 years working like crazy, coming home late, stressed, with no time for me, no time for our daughter. And now you don't even have a job anymore. I'm tired of waiting for you to change." Michael tried to argue. He tried to explain that he was working so much precisely for them, to give them a better life, to get that promotion that never came. But she had already made her decision. Wednesday morning, she left. She took their 3-year-old daughter, little Emma, who cried in the back seat as her mother drove away. Michael stood on the sidewalk, watching the car disappear around the corner, feeling an emptiness in his chest that he had never felt before. In the following days, Michael could barely get out of bed. He sent out resumes, but without enthusiasm, without energy. His bank account was drying up. The severance pay barely covered his debts. He tried to negotiate with the bank, asked for more time, but the bank didn't want to talk. On Saturday of that same week, the sheriff arrived with the eviction notice. Michael had 24 hours to leave the apartment. He had nowhere to go. He had no close family. His friends disappeared when they saw he was broke. Everyone was too busy with their own lives to care about his problems. And that's how Michael, on Sunday night, grabbed an old backpack, put some clothes inside, kept his wallet and a photo of his daughter, and walked out the apartment door for the last time. He walked through the city streets with no destination. It was August, summer turning to fall, and the chill was cutting. He didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to do. He walked until he was tired, until his legs hurt, until he couldn't take it anymore. And when his body couldn't stand anymore, he sat down under a highway overpass, leaned his back against the cold concrete wall, and for the first time in his life, Michael slept on the street. The first days on the street were the worst. Not because he was hungry, although he was. not because he was cold, although he was. The worst was what was happening inside his head. It was the noise of thoughts that never stopped. How did I let this happen? Where did I go wrong? Why didn't I see this coming? The questions hammered away, one after another, without stopping, without answers. The smell of urine in the alleys was nauseating. He tried to find a cleaner, more protected place, but all the good spots were already occupied by other homeless people, people who looked at him with distrust, as if he were an invader in their territory. He learned quickly that on the street there's also hierarchy. There's also competition for space, for food, for survival. At night, the sound of cars passing on the avenue above was constant. Michael tried to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come. He lay on wet cardboard that he managed to get from behind markets, curled up, trying to warm his body with his own heat, but it was never enough. The cold went through his bones. He shivered all night long. And when exhaustion finally won and he fell asleep, he woke up at dawn with his body aching, his neck stiff, his back locked up. During the day, Michael wandered through downtown. He carried that old backpack on his back, with everything that remained of his life: 2 dirty t-shirts, torn pants, a crumpled document, and that photo of his daughter that he looked at every night before trying to sleep. The photo was fading from him, running his finger over it so much, as if he could touch her face, as if he could smell her hair just by looking at the image. He cried in silence, always hidden, ashamed of someone seeing, because crying made him feel even weaker, even more lost, even further from being that man he once was. That man who had a job, who had a family, who had dignity. Now he was just another invisible person on the streets, another problem that people pretended not to see. And the look in people's eyes was what hurt the most. When Michael asked for help, when he extended his hand asking for $1, asking for food, asking for anything, people looked away, as if he were transparent, as if he were no longer human, as if he were just a nuisance, a stain on the city landscape that they wanted to ignore. Some threw coins from far away, without even looking at him. Others quickened their pace, clutched their purse tightly, as if Michael were going to rob them. And there were those who looked with disgust, with contempt, as if being on the street were a choice, as if he had decided to wake up one day and think, "Today I want to be homeless." Michael began to believe it. He began to believe that it was his fault, that he deserved to be there, that he was a failure, that he had always been a failure and just hadn't realized it before. Negative thoughts consumed his mind 24 hours a day. You're worthless. You lost your family. You lost your job. You lost your life. And now you're here, sleeping on the ground like an abandoned dog. At night, when the cold intensified, when his stomach ached with hunger, when his head ached from thinking so much, Michael looked at the sky and wondered, how long can I endure this? He was afraid of dying there, afraid of never seeing his daughter again, afraid that this would be forever, afraid of waking up one day and simply not wanting to wake up anymore. He saw other people on the street who had been there for years, people who had given up, people who no longer had light in their eyes, people who accepted it as fate, and he wondered, am I going to become like them? Am I going to lose hope too? Am I going to forget what it's like to have dreams? And the worst part is that little by little, he was losing it, losing hope, losing the will to try, losing that spark inside him that once made him believe that life could be different, that he could be someone, that he had value. Michael spent his days sitting on the sidewalk of a bakery, in the same spot, every day. He no longer asked for money. He no longer talked to anyone. He just stayed there, watching people pass by, living their lives, laughing, talking on their cell phones, going into the bakery to buy warm bread, coffee with milk, things that seemed like unreachable luxuries to him now. He ate leftovers. He rummaged through trash cans looking for food that was still good. He learned to recognize which restaurants threw away better food, what times it was easier to find something usable. He learned to eat quickly before someone saw him and chased him away. He learned to swallow humiliation along with the food. 3 months passed like this. 3 months of loneliness, cold, hunger, silent desperation. Michael was giving up. He felt like he was at the bottom of the well, and the worst part is that he didn't see any way out. He didn't see any light, he didn't see any hope, until one Tuesday afternoon, exactly 3 months after ending up on the street, something happened, something so simple it seemed ridiculous. But it would change everything forever. Michael was sitting on the bakery sidewalk in his usual spot. It was around 3 in the afternoon. The street traffic was calmer. People were working, busy with their lives. He was there, looking at the ground, lost in his own thoughts, when he noticed that someone had stopped in front of him. This wasn't common. Most people walked right past, looking at their phones, listening to music on headphones, pretending he didn't exist. But this person stopped. Michael looked up slowly, expecting to see someone who was going to yell at him to leave, or someone who was going to throw a coin from far away and run off. But no, it was a man. He must have been in his mid-40s. He was well dressed. Light blue dress shirt, black dress pants, new shiny shoes, a silver watch on his wrist. He didn't look like the type of person who stopped to talk to homeless people, but he stopped, and even stranger, he looked into Michael's eyes, really looked, as if he were seeing a person there, not just a problem. "How long have you been on the street?" the man asked with a calm, peaceful voice, without judgment, without pity, with nothing but genuine curiosity. Michael hesitated. He wasn't used to talking. He wasn't used to someone asking questions about him. His voice came out hoarse, low, almost a whisper. 3 months. The man nodded as if processing the information. Then, to Michael's surprise, he crouched down right there on the dirty sidewalk, staying at Michael's height, looking into his eyes as equals. "I've been there, exactly where you are now." Michael raised his eyes, suspicious. This well-dressed man, with clean clothes, expensive shoes, a watch on his wrist, saying he had slept on the street. It didn't make sense. It must be another person who wanted to do charity, who wanted to feel good about himself by telling a pretty lie. "My name is Robert," the man said, extending his hand. Michael looked at the extended hand, not knowing whether to shake it or not. It had been so long since he had greeted anyone. It had been so long since he had been treated like a person. Slowly, he extended his hand and shook it. Robert's hand was firm, warm. 10 years ago, Robert continued, I slept under that same overpass there. He pointed into the distance, to the overpass where Michael slept every night. I know exactly what you're feeling right now. The shame, the fear, the desire to give up, the feeling that you're worthless, that no one cares, that life is over. Michael felt a tightness in his chest. How did this man know exactly what he was feeling? How did he know the words that hammered in his head every day? I know because I felt the same thing, Robert continued, his voice becoming softer, more personal. I lost everything too. I lost my job, my house, my family. I spent 2 years on the street, Michael. 2 years thinking I was going to die there. 2 years believing I was hopeless, that I was trash, that I didn't deserve anything better. Michael looked at Robert, really looked, and for the first time saw something in his eyes. Truth. It wasn't pity, it wasn't judgment, it was understanding. It was empathy from someone who really went through it and survived. Robert didn't offer money. He didn't offer food. He didn't offer shelter. He did something different, something no one had done in the last 3 months. He offered attention. He offered presence. He offered listening. I'm going to ask you a question, Michael, and I want you to think carefully before answering. No rush. Don't be afraid to be honest, okay? Michael nodded. Do you want to get out of this situation? Michael nodded yes, with tears beginning to form in his eyes. No, Robert interrupted, raising his hand. Don't answer me with your head. Answer with the truth, with words. Because a lot of people say they want to change, but deep down they're afraid to try again. They're afraid of failing again. They're afraid of disappointing themselves one more time. They're afraid of finding out there's really no hope. So I'm asking again, looking into your eyes, are you sure you want to get out of this? Michael took a deep breath. He could feel his heart beating hard in his chest. He could feel the tears running down his face. He could feel something inside him that had been sleeping for months beginning to stir again. A small spark, almost extinguished, but still alive. Yes, he said, and this time his voice came out firmer, clearer. I'm sure. I want to get out of this. I want to see my daughter again. I want to have a life again. I want to be someone again. Robert smiled, a genuine, warm, even proud smile. Then tomorrow, same time, you meet me here, in this same place. I'm going to teach you the first thing that got me off the street, the first lesson that changed my life, but you need to be here, without fail. It doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if you're hungry, nothing matters. You need to be here. Can you do that? Michael promised yes. Robert stood up, brushed off his pants, and before leaving, put his hand on Michael's shoulder. I believe in you, and tomorrow you're going to start believing in yourself too. That night, Michael slept differently. It wasn't a good sleep. The ground was still hard. The cold was still cutting. The hunger was still hurting. But there was something different inside him, a feeling he had already forgotten. It wasn't happiness yet. It wasn't certainty, but it was hope. A small, fragile, but real hope. He was afraid of oversleeping and missing the time. He woke up several times during the night, looking at the sky, trying to guess what time it was. When the sun began to rise, he was already awake, sitting, waiting for the time to go to the bakery. 3 in the afternoon arrived and Michael was there, punctually, sitting in the same place, nervous, anxious, afraid Robert wouldn't show up, afraid it had all been a lie, afraid he had deluded himself again. But Robert showed up. He arrived with a smile on his face, carrying a plastic bag. You came. I knew you would come. Michael didn't know whether to smile or cry. He ended up doing both. Robert sat down next to him on the sidewalk. He took out of the bag an empty plastic cup and a bottle of mineral water. Michael looked at it without understanding. This here, Robert said, holding the cup in his hand, is going to change your life. But before I show you how, you need to understand something very important. Robert opened the bottle and began to fill the cup slowly. The water rose, until it reached the rim. He filled it until the cup was completely full, with the water forming a small dome on the surface, about to overflow with any movement. This cup represents your mind right now, Robert explained. Do you see how full it is? Do you see how any movement makes the water wobble, threaten to overflow? That's you. Your mind is full of worries, fear, regret, anger, guilt, shame. It's so full that you can't even move properly without spilling everything. Michael looked at the cup, seeing the water wobble with the light afternoon breeze, and understood the metaphor perfectly. That was exactly how he felt. Heavy, overloaded, about to collapse at any moment. Now, Robert continued, putting the cup in Michael's hand, I want you to walk to that pole over there. He pointed to a light pole that was about 60 feet away. I want you to go there and come back without spilling a single drop. Can you do that? Michael held the cup with both hands. He could feel the weight of the water, could see the surface trembling. He looked at the pole. 60 feet. It suddenly seemed so far away. He took the first step, slowly, very slowly. The water wobbled. He tried to stabilize the cup, but his hands were shaking. Fear of making a mistake, fear of spilling, fear of disappointing Robert, fear of failing again. The second step was even more tense. He stared at the cup, trying to control every movement, but the more he worried about not spilling, the more the water wobbled. It was as if his own tension made everything worse. On the third step, a few drops fell to the ground. Michael froze. His heart raced. "You're already messing everything up," a voice in his head screamed. "You can't even do this right." On the fifth step, more water was lost. Michael was sweating cold now. His hands were shaking, his muscles tensed, his jaw locked. He was trying to concentrate, but his mind was screaming 1,000 things at once. "Can't make a mistake. You always mess everything up. You're going to fail again. Everyone will see that you're a failure." "Relax," Robert said, walking calmly beside him. "Stop trying to control so much." But Michael couldn't relax. How to relax when everything depended on this? How to relax when he couldn't fail? Each step was torture. Each movement was a battle. The water kept spilling, falling to the ground, decreasing in the cup. When he finally reached the pole, Michael looked at the cup. It was half full. Half the water had been lost along the way. He looked at Robert, with tears in his eyes, defeated. "I can't. I always fail. No matter what I do, I always mess everything up." Robert took the cup from his hand. "Exactly. You just showed me the biggest problem in your life, Michael. You're so full of fear of making mistakes that you can't even walk properly. You're so worried about not failing that you freeze up. You sabotage yourself. You create the very failure you fear so much." Michael lowered his head, feeling the weight of the words. Robert threw away the rest of the water and filled the cup again, but this time he filled it only halfway. The water was well below the rim, with plenty of room. "Now I want you to go back, from the pole to here, but this time I want you to do something different. I want you to ignore the water. Don't look at the cup. Look ahead, at me. Walk normally, like you would walk if you had nothing in your hand. Don't think about the cup. Don't think about the water. Just walk." Michael took the cup. He looked at Robert, who was 60 feet ahead, smiling, waving. He took a deep breath. He felt the air entering his lungs. He felt the warm afternoon sun on his face, and he began to walk. He didn't look down. He didn't think about the water. He just looked ahead, at Robert. 1 step, 2, 3. His muscles were relaxed now, his shoulders loose, his mind quiet. 4, 5, 6. He was walking at a natural pace, without forcing, without freezing up. 10 steps, 15, 20. When he got back to where Robert was, he looked at the cup. The water was practically at the same level. Only a few drops had spilled, almost nothing. Michael looked at Robert, confused. "How? But I don't understand. Why was it different?" Robert put his hand on his shoulder. "Do you realize what just happened? On the first trip, the cup was full and you spilled almost everything. On the second, the cup was half full and you spilled almost nothing. Why?" Michael thought. Because I wasn't focused on not making mistakes." "Exactly." Robert smiled, proud. "Your mind was so full of fear, worry, guilt, the past, that you couldn't move properly. You were carrying too much weight. Weight that no one asked you to carry. Weight that you put on yourself." Michael felt a tight knot in his throat. Tears began to fall. "Look, Michael," Robert continued, his voice becoming softer, gentler. "I know you lost a lot. I know you feel guilty. I know you think everything was your fault. But you're trying to carry a cup that's too full. You want to rebuild your entire life at once. You want to recover all the lost time, You want to prove to your ex-wife that you're not a failure. You want to prove to your daughter that you're a good father. You want to prove to yourself that you have value. And you know what happens when you try to do all of this at the same time. You spill everything along the way. You freeze up. You can't even take a step. Tears were streaming down Michael's face now, falling on the concrete ground. "The first thing you need to do," Robert said, crouching in front of him, looking deep into his eyes, "is to empty that cup. You need to stop carrying all that weight. You need to forgive yourself for what happened. You need to let go of the guilt of losing your job. You need to let go of the anger that your wife left. You need to accept that you made mistakes, that you lost, that you fell. But you also need to accept that you're still alive, that you can still start over, that you still have value." Michael couldn't take it anymore. He fell to his knees right there, on the sidewalk, and cried. He cried like he hadn't cried in years. He cried everything that was trapped, choked, suffocated inside him. The shame of being on the street, the anger of having lost everything, the fear of never being able to come back, the guilt of not being a good father, a good husband, a good man. He cried until he had no more tears, until his body stopped shaking, until his chest stopped hurting, and gradually, very gradually, he felt something different. A relief, an empty space inside him that was previously suffocated, compressed, airless. Now there was space, there was lightness, there was possibility. Robert waited in silence. He didn't try to rush. He didn't try to console with empty words. He just stayed there, present, respecting the pain and healing happening at the same time. When Michael finally calmed down, when he could breathe again, Robert helped him up. He cleaned the dirt off his pants with his hands. "From now on," Robert said, holding Michael's shoulders firmly, "you're going to rebuild your life with the cup half full. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to prove anything to anyone yet. You just need to take one step at a time, one day at a time, one small achievement at a time, and trust that you can get there, because you can, Michael. I know you can." That afternoon, sitting on that dirty sidewalk, with a half-full cup of water in his hand, Michael understood. He didn't need a miracle. He didn't need luck. He didn't need someone to save him. He just needed to stop carrying the weight of everything he had lost and start walking again. Light, one step at a time, trusting the process. And that's exactly what he did. In the following days, Robert came back, always at the same time, always with some new lesson. He taught Michael how to get small jobs. He taught him where to go, how to present himself, what to say. He taught him to save every penny, not to spend on nonsense, to have a goal. "One brick at a time," Robert always repeated. "Nobody builds a house in one day. You're not going to go from the street to an apartment in a week, but you will get out. One brick at a time." Michael started washing cars in a parking lot. He earned $20, $30 a day. It was little, but it was something. It was dignified. It was his. He saved every coin in an old can that Robert had given him. At the end of the first week, he had $140. It was more money than he had seen in 3 months. After a month washing cars, the parking lot owner offered Michael a steady job at a construction site that a friend of his was running. $800 a month. Michael accepted immediately. He worked hard, carrying bricks, mixing cement, doing what he was told. He came home under the overpass, dead tired, but with a different feeling. Dignity, purpose. In 3 months, Michael had saved $2,400. Robert helped him rent a simple little room in a boarding house, $500 a month. It was small, it only had a single bed, an old wardrobe, and a shared bathroom in the hallway. But it was his. He had an address again. He had a place to take a hot shower. He had a roof over his head. On the first night in that room, Michael lay on the bed and cried again. But this time it wasn't sadness. It was gratitude. It was relief. It was the feeling of becoming human again. Robert remained present. Every week they met. Robert brought more lessons, more advice, more teachings. But the most important thing is that he brought hope. He was living proof that it was possible to get out of that hole. If Robert did it, I can too, Michael thought every time he saw him. 6 months after leaving the street, Michael gathered the courage to do something he was afraid to do. He called his ex-wife. His heart was beating so hard he almost hung up before she answered. But she answered. Her voice was cold, distant. "Hello. Hi. It's me, Michael." He could barely speak. I just wanted to know how Emma is. If she's okay." Silence on the other side. Then, with a slightly softer voice, "She's fine, Michael. She asks about you sometimes." Tears came again. I wanted to see her. Just see her. It doesn't even have to be for long. I just wanted her to know that I haven't forgotten her, that I'm trying, that I'm changing. More silence. Then, on Saturday, from 3 to 5, at the park near her school, "I'll take her. But Michael, if you don't show up, if you disappoint her again, I'll never let you near her again. I'll be there. I promise." That week was the longest of Michael's life. He barely slept. He kept thinking about what he would say, how he would behave if his daughter would remember him. When Saturday finally arrived, he woke up at 5 in the morning, even though the meeting was only at 3 in the afternoon. He showered. He put on the cleanest clothes he had. He combed his hair. He brushed his teeth 3 times. He arrived at the park an hour early. He waited, anxious, nervous, afraid she wouldn't come. But at 3 o'clock sharp, he saw his ex-wife arriving in her car, and in the back seat, little Emma. When the girl got out of the car and saw her father, she stood still for a second without reaction. Michael crouched down, getting to her height. "Hi, Princess. Daddy's here." And then Emma ran. She ran and jumped into his arms, hugging tightly, the way only children hug. "Daddy. Daddy's back. Where were you, Daddy? I missed you." Michael hugged his daughter so tightly he was afraid of hurting her. Tears fell non-stop. "I know, sweetheart. I know. Daddy had to work some things out. But now I'm here, and I'm never going to disappear again, I promise." They spent 2 hours together. They played on the swings. They ate popcorn. They drew on the ground with colored chalk. And when it was time to leave, Emma cried, "I don't want to go, Daddy. I want to stay with you." His ex-wife, who had been watching from a distance, approached. With a slightly less cold voice, she said, "You can see her again next Saturday. If you want." I want very much. Those Saturday meetings became sacred to Michael. He worked all week thinking about those 2 hours with his daughter, and each week he saw that she was reconnecting with him, trusting him again, loving him again. A year after leaving the street, Michael made a decision. He wanted more than just working for others. He wanted to build something of his own, something that was his, something he could look at and say, "I did this." He talked to Robert about the idea of starting a small maintenance business, fixing things in people's homes, changing faucets, painting walls, installing shelves, simple things but always in demand. Robert loved the idea. He helped Michael make a plan, how much money he needed to start, what tools to buy, how to advertise the work, how to price the services. They spent weeks planning every detail. Michael saved $1,500 and bought the basic tools. He made some simple flyers on a computer at an internet cafe and started distributing them in the city's neighborhoods. At first, almost no one called, but he didn't give up. He kept distributing. He kept offering. He kept believing. The first client was a 70-year-old lady who needed to change the door lock. Michael did the job with such care, with such attention, that the lady was impressed. In the end, she paid and said, "Son, you have a knack for this. I'm going to recommend you to my friends." And she did. One friend called, then another, then another. Word of mouth started to work. In 3 months, Michael already had a full schedule of services. He could barely keep up. He worked Monday through Saturday, from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. He came home exhausted but happy, fulfilled. At the end of the first year, he already had $10,000 saved. He decided to hire a helper, a young guy named Jake, who was also going through difficulties. Michael saw in him the same story he had lived, and he decided to give him a chance, the same way Robert had given him one. The business kept growing. Michael started serving small businesses, doing maintenance in offices, stores, restaurants. He hired 2 more employees. He bought an old van to transport the tools and the team. He rented a bigger apartment with 2 bedrooms, thinking about the day his daughter could spend the weekend with him. 2 years after starting the business, something incredible happened. His ex-wife called him. "Michael," she said, with a soft voice, "no more coldness. I've been seeing the effort you've been making. I've been seeing that you've really changed. Emma talks about you every day. She wants to spend more time with you, and I think you deserve that." Michael held the phone tightly, too emotional to speak. "She can spend weekends with you if you want, I want, more than anything." That weekend, Emma slept at her father's house for the first time in years. She had a room just for her, which Michael had decorated with all the love in the world. Stuffed animals, drawings on the wall, a bed with sheets from her favorite princess. When she saw the room, she hugged her father and said, "It's the most beautiful room in the world, Daddy." Michael cried again. It seemed like he only cried lately, but they were good tears, tears of gratitude, fulfillment, love. 3 years after starting the business, the company had grown a lot. Michael now had 15 employees, 3 vans, and contracts with medium and large companies. He had left that little room in the boarding house and rented a 3-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood. He had bought new furniture, a TV, a computer, but most importantly, he had gotten official shared custody of his daughter. Emma spent half the week with him, half with her mother, and on the days she was with him, Michael made sure to have dinner with her, help with homework, put her to bed, to be a real father, to be present. Robert continued to be his mentor and best friend. They met every week to talk, to exchange ideas, for Michael to ask for advice. And always, always, Robert reminded him, "Remember the cup, Michael. When things get heavy, when you feel overwhelmed, remember the cup. Empty what you don't need to carry, keep what's essential, and walk." In the 4th year, Michael decided to expand even more. He opened 2 new branches in neighboring cities. He hired managers to take care of each unit. He was now more than a service provider. He was an entrepreneur. He had a business license, an accountant, payroll, responsibilities, and he loved every second of it. He loved waking up in the morning knowing he had a purpose. He loved knowing he was generating jobs, helping other people have dignity through work. He loved looking back and seeing how much he had evolved. But not everything was easy. There were difficult days, days when a client complained, when an employee messed up, when a bill was late, when he felt tired, overwhelmed, wanting to give up. And on those days, he stopped. He got a glass of water. He filled it halfway. He looked at the cup. And he asked himself, what am I carrying that I don't need to? What worry can I let go of now? What fear can I let go of? And always, always, he found something, some unnecessary anxiety, some unrealistic expectation, some weight he had put on his own back. He let go. He emptied the cup and kept walking. 5 years after that Tuesday afternoon, when Robert stopped in front of him on the sidewalk, Michael had an established company, 40 employees, 3 branches operating well, contracts with large companies, and most impressive, $2 million in his bank account. $2 million. The same man who slept under the overpass, who rummaged through trash cans, who had nowhere to fall dead, now had $2 million. A house of his own paid off, a new car in the garage, his daughter living with him half the time, a life he never imagined having again. But when people asked Michael what the secret to his success was, what the magic formula was, he always answered the same thing. It's not about the money. It was never about the money. It's about the cup. And then he told the story of the full cup and the half-full cup, the story of how he learned to let go of unnecessary weight and walk lightly through life, the story of how he stopped trying to control everything and started trusting the process. Because the truth is that Michael didn't get rich by working harder than others. Many people work hard and stay broke. Michael didn't get rich by being lucky. He had the same luck as everyone. None. Michael got rich because he learned the most important lesson anyone can learn. To go far, you need to walk light. He learned not to carry guilt from the past. He learned not to carry unrealistic expectations from the future. He learned not to carry fears that only exist in his head. He learned to focus on what matters, to take one step at a time, to trust that he is capable, and that's what changed everything. Today, Michael isn't just a successful businessman, he's also a mentor. Just as Robert was for him, he now is for others. Every week he reserves a few hours to talk to people who are going through difficulties, people who have lost everything, people who are on the street, people who have lost hope. And you know what he does? He doesn't give money. He doesn't give food. He gives attention. He gives presents. He gives the cup lesson. Because he knows that no amount of money in the world saves someone if that person's mind is still too full to walk. Michael told me this story in an emotional interview. We were in his office, a beautiful modern space with an ocean view. He cried several times during the conversation. He cried when talking about Robert, who is now like a brother to him. He cried when talking about his daughter, who is now 9 years old and is the pride of his life. He cried when remembering the time on the street, not with sadness, but with gratitude for what it taught him. And at the end of the interview, he looked me in the eyes and asked, "Please pass this message on to whoever is watching. Tell them that no matter how far they've fallen, no matter how much they've lost, no matter how many times they've failed, it's still possible to start over. It's still possible to turn things around. It's still possible to build a new life, but only if they empty the cup first." So that's the message I'm passing on to you now. If you're watching this and feeling overwhelmed, feeling lost, feeling defeated, I want you to stop for a moment and think, what is your cup? What are you carrying that you don't need to? What are the unnecessary weights you've put on your own back? Are you carrying guilt from past mistakes that you can't change anymore? Empty the cup. Forgive yourself. Accept that you made mistakes. Learn the lesson and move forward. Are you carrying fear of trying again because you've already failed before? Empty the cup. Understand that failing doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you're human. It means you tried. And those who try always have more chance of succeeding than those who don't even try. Are you carrying unrealistic expectations that you need to fix everything at once, that you need to be perfect, that you need to impress everyone? Empty the cup. You don't need everything now. You just need the next step, and then the next one, and then the next one. Life isn't a 100-meter dash, it's a marathon, and nobody runs a marathon carrying weight on their back. You need to run light. You need to carry only the essentials. You need to trust your pace. Michael took 5 years to get where he got. 5 years of small steps, difficult days, stumbles, fresh starts. But he got there. And if he did it, you can too. I believe that. Robert believes that. And most importantly, you need to believe that too. So I challenge you now, get a cup, fill it with water, and try to walk around the house without spilling. See how difficult it is when it's too full. Then empty it halfway and walk again. Feel the difference. Understand the lesson. And after you understand, apply it to your life. Stop trying to carry everything. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to prove something to everyone. Just walk, one step at a time. Light, confident, believing that you can, because you can. It might not seem like it now. It might seem like you're at the bottom of the well with no way out. It might seem like nothing will ever change, but it will. It always changes. Life is movement. It's change. It's constant transformation. And you have the power to choose what transformation you want to have. You can choose to keep carrying unnecessary weights and stay stuck in the same place. Or you can choose to empty the cup, let go of what no longer serves you, and start walking again. Michael chose to walk, and look where he got. From the street to a $2 million company, from invisible to mentor, from desperate to inspiration, not because he was special, not because he had some secret talent, but because he learned the most important lesson of all: walk light. If this story touched your heart, if it made sense to you, if it lit something inside you, I ask you, share it. Send it to that friend who's going through difficulties. Send it to that family member who lost hope. Send it to that person you know needs to hear this right now, because sometimes we don't need much. We just need a story that reminds us that it's possible, that reminds us that other people have been through terrible things and managed to get out, that reminds us that we're not alone in this journey. And subscribe to the channel for more real stories of overcoming that will inspire you to never give up on your dreams. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any video, because you deserve to be reminded every day that your story hasn't ended yet, that the best chapter is still to come, that you still have time to turn things around. Thank you for being here with me on this journey. Thank you for dedicating these minutes to hear Michael's story. Thank you for being open to learning, to growing, to changing. And always remember, empty your cup and start walking, one step at a time, without rushing, without fear, without unnecessary weight. Your life is about to change. I know that. Michael knows that, and deep down you know it too. So go. Start today. Start now. Empty the cup and walk. See you in the next video. And until then, be well. Take care of yourself, and remember, you're much stronger than you imagine. A big hug and good luck on your journey.